And we're back, and today we're going to be talking about, in this video, we're going to be talking about open houses and how to take those open houses to the next level and get as much traffic as you possibly can to those open houses. And most importantly, not only getting the traffic to open houses, because open houses can be a really, really awesome source for right now business. Obviously, when people make the step to get in their car, spend their weekends going to open houses and viewing homes, they tend to be a little further along in the buying process than other types of leads. For example, internet leads, Realtor.com leads, Zillow leads. These leads tend to be more long-term nurture. They start their search off online, and gradually, as they get closer to making a purchase, as they get closer to actually making a move and making a decision, that's when they get in the car and go out and start looking at homes at open houses. So we want to make sure that we do the best job we possibly can to capture the most people we can, to attract the most people to these open houses through our marketing techniques. But then we also want to make sure that when we get people to the open house, that we're engaging them, that we're showing the house the best way, that we're making sure that we are offering tons and tons of value to these clients. Because remember, they are not only going to your open house, they're going to many open houses. So we want to make sure that when they're at our open house, we give them the best representation of professionalism, we offer the most value, and we are the one that makes the best connection with them. And ultimately, we want to make sure that we are doing the best job of following up after we meet them at the open house to make sure that we can convert those leads that walk through the open house into business and ultimately get them to the closing table. So today we're going to be talking about our open house techniques, some of the tips and tricks and ideas, some of the standards that we have, the requirements that we have to when it comes to open houses to make sure that you're getting the most people that you possibly can, and to make sure that you're engaging and offering value, and to make sure you're converting. But we also want to offer some additional tips to make to give you some ideas to go above and beyond, because the amount of time and energy and effort that you put into getting ready for and marketing and working that open house is a direct result of the business that you're going to get from an open house. One of the things that I want to mention really early on in this training is many people tend to be put off because they'll do one or two open houses, and maybe they only get one or two couples, maybe they get 5 or 6 couples, maybe they get 10 couples, but many times people get discouraged because either a lack of traffic, or maybe they're getting a lot of traffic and ultimately they don't end up converting any of that traffic. I do want to mention right at the beginning of this training that the key to any type of lead generation, the key to open houses is consistency. You've got to not only do open houses consistently, but you got to make sure that your follow-up is consistent, that the processes that you're following at the open house are consistent, that you are staying in front of these people consistently in order to convert. Remember, open house is just another source of lead generation. It's just another way to get yourself in front of people and to have real estate conversation. But ultimately, where the rubber meets the road is how we're converting these people who attend the open houses, how we're converting them into clients and ultimately into business. Don't get discouraged. I can't tell you how many times people on our team have done open houses and 1 or maybe 2 couples show up, and ultimately somebody from that open house ends up purchasing a home, and purchasing a home quickly. We've had many scenarios where we've only had a couple people come through an open house, and the agent does a good job at offering value, engaging that lead, converting the lead to client, and then ends up selling that one couple or one of the 2 couples that end up purchasing a home, and ends up selling them a house and getting them under contract within a week or 2 weeks or a month. So make sure when it comes to open houses that it's a consistent effort, make sure it's a focused effort, and make sure that you're doing all of the things that you can to market and to convert at the absolute highest level. And open houses can be a huge, huge pillar of your business and be a great source of some right now business. So let's get into it. And the first thing I want to talk about in the training is the different sources for open house, because Many times people think, well, how do I do open houses? I don't have any listings. I don't have any listings, so that's an excuse for doing an open house. Well, if there's a will, there's a way. So today we're going to be talking about multiple different sources. The first thing we're going to be talking about is multiple different sources and ways to go about finding open houses to do on the weekends. The first is obviously team listings. Listings from other agents on our team, maybe listings that you hold on our team. All of our team listings can be found in our sales office. We have a big listing board, which I'm sure you're probably already familiar with. On that listing board, there's actually a column that says whether or not it's available for an open house. Now, obviously, if you look at this list and you see that it's available for an open house, it's also going to let you know if it's vacant or it's occupied, so you know whether or not you can just do the open house or you need to talk to the agent. But just because it doesn't say, yes, it is available for an open house, it doesn't mean that it's actually not available. Maybe the agent just forgot to put it up there. Maybe the client at first wasn't ready for an open house. So make sure that if you see a listing that you like, that you check with that agent regardless of whether or not it says that it is available for an open house. Now, I will tell you that the availability of our team's listings are on our listing board, but as the recording of this video, we are in an extremely hot seller's market. So what that means is that we've got very limited inventory as far as team listings go. We actually find that most of the listings we're putting on the market, we're getting under contract within a matter of days, which doesn't even give us an opportunity to do an open house. So if we don't have any listings available as a team, the cool part is we are part of an office that has over 200 different agents, and many of those agents have listings that are available for open houses, but those agents may not be available to do the open houses themselves. Maybe they aren't in the game of doing open houses. So there are a lot of other agents and other listings within our Keller Williams at the Parks office that are available to do open houses at. The cool thing is if you don't already know, there is a board upstairs right by the listing and the sales board for the Keller Williams at the Parks office. There is a open house opportunity board that shows all of the open houses that are available for you to do an open house at. At any given time, there could be 4, 6, 8, 10 different open houses that are available at that on that board. So if there aren't any listings that you see on our board that are available, maybe not any listings that that you want to do an open house at, go to the office's open house board and see what's available there. Now, don't just stop there. We find many times we've got relationships with a lot of other agents in this office. Fortunately, we're known as a team that does things right and that works hard and does right by our clients. So there are many other agents in the office that don't necessarily list open houses and advertise them on the board as available for open house opportunities. But if we do go to those agents personally and they do know that you're with our team, they will give you some options of open houses available. So if you don't see anything on our listing board, if you don't see anything on the Keller Williams at the Parks open house opportunity board, then just come to myself or come to Jeff or one of the people on the team and ask them which agents in the office you should approach about doing open houses, and you can find them there. The other cool part is on the home page of the MLS, there is a tab that shows all of our office's listings. So a good thing that you could do is go to that tab, open it up, check all of the listings that are available here in our office. You can see what's vacant, you can see what's occupied, see what neighborhoods, what areas, what price points they're in. Narrow down on a handful, 5, 6, 7, 8 different open houses or houses that you're interested in doing an open house for, and just either go to that agent's office or call that agent and ask him if that house would indeed be available for an open house. Just let him know that you'll do it right, that you'll advertise it well, that you'll put out a ton of signs, and that you'll take great care of the home and give them great feedback. And you will find that more often than not, they will be more than willing to allow you to do an open house the right way at one of their listings. Now, when our team first started, many times we didn't have listings of our own or we couldn't find listings within the office. So we didn't stop there. Our team actually, back in the day, before we had a lot of leads and before we had a lot of opportunities and listings, and before we had a good reputation in the office, we just used to actually go prospecting for open houses. And what I mean by that is agents, you can go to the MLS, you can search in the zip codes and the price ranges that you are interested in the areas and the neighborhoods that you're interested in. Pull up all the properties that are available for sale. Go over to the tab that shows the agent in the office and search by agent or search by office, and find other Keller Williams agents and other offices that have listings in those areas and those price ranges that you're interested in, and call those agents and let them know that you're part of a top real estate team here at Keller Williams at the Parks, and that we're just short of inventory, and that you absolutely love their listing, and you love the neighborhood, and you love the area, and that you would love to hold an open house at their property. And many times, I'd say early on, probably 40 to 50% of our open house opportunities came from prospecting other Keller Williams agents and offering to do open houses at their properties. So don't just stop at our listings. Don't just stop at our offices listings. Know that you can also shop around for other open house opportunities for other, through other Keller Williams agents at other offices as well. So between those three different sources, you should have absolutely no problem finding yourself many open house opportunities to do as often as you'd like. Now, once you pick an open house, once you find the location, once you set the date and the time, now it's time to get ready to start planning to hold that open house. So the cool part here on our team is obviously when it comes to the Nickley Group, we rely heavily on leverage, and when it comes to open house, it is no different. So when it comes to doing open houses, once you select it, we are actually going to utilize our admin staff, and they are going to help in the preparation for that open house. They're going to help with doing all the marketing. They're going to get all your materials ready. They're going to get your open house surveys ready and your MLS synopsis sheets. And we put together really cool guest booklets for each person that walks through that open house, and we'll cover those in a moment. But the cool part is all we have to do is fill out a cool little form that we have, which is simply called an open house form. Once you've confirmed your open house property, all you have to do is complete and turn in the open house form to operations. You want to complete and turn in this form no later than Wednesday before the actual open house date. That way it will give our operations department plenty of time to market it, plenty of time to get the materials ready and the booklets ready, and to make sure they have those ready for you. All your materials and all your marketing are up and going and ready for you prior to that open house being held. So I'll just show you a quick shot of what the open house form looks like, and these can be found in our office in the folders with all of the other important documents, and I'm sure you guys know where these documents are by now, but this is what the open house form looks like, and it's pretty simple. All you have to do up here on the top line is put the address of the property you're going to be holding the open house at. You're going to put your name, the agent that is going to be conducting the open house. You're going to circle whether it's a listing of our team or it's not a listing of our team. And the reason being is if it's a listing of our team, then our operations department can do all of the marketing on their own. They can, list the open house in the MLS. They can update realtor.com and Zillow. They can post it on Facebook. But if it's not a Nickley Group listing, then they're limited to the marketing that they can do. They can't list it on the MLS, and they can't put it on realtor.com and Zillow if it's not our listing. So you just need to let them know up front so they know which portion of the marketing they are responsible for. Down here, you're going to put the date and the time that you are going to be holding the open house. You want to put the owner's name of that open house just so we have it. You want to let operations know whether it's occupied or it's not occupied. And in some scenarios, maybe if it's a FSBO or if the owner needs to be contacted for any reason, we're going to need the owner's contact information here as well. But you'll know through talking to the listing agent on that property whether or not the owner needs to be contacted prior to the event for any reason. And then down in this section, this is all going to be filled out by operations. You just fill out the top section as the agent. agent, and then operations department is going to check off the boxes once they post it on the MLS and Realtor.com and Zillow and so on and so forth. They're also going to check off the boxes to the different marketing materials that are going to be in the buyer's booklet. This is more of a checklist for operations, so they know exactly what it is they need to do. And if you would like to up your open house game and include balloons to attach to your signs, you're going to put the number of balloons that you want ordered down here, so that way we can order them from the front desk to be ready by Saturday morning that the open house will be held. So that's pretty straightforward and simple enough. And now let's move on. So if it's an outside listing, I already mentioned this, if the property is a listing outside of our team, then you're going to want to make sure when you book that open house with the listing agent that you ask them right away to make sure to list the open house on the MLS and on Zillow. Also make sure to ask that listing agent if they have any type of list of upgrades or features of the home that they had received from their clients. The reason you want to ask for this and get a copy is if you do, then we'll want to include that in our guest booklet that we're going to be giving out to guests that come to the open house, and we're going to need to get that from the listing agent to be able to include in our packet if it is an outside listing of the Nickley Group. One other suggestion I would make is I wouldn't just stop at asking that listing agent to post it on the MLS and Zillow. I would make sure that 24 hours later that you go back again and confirm with that agent, or go on the MLS and check to see if that open house has been listed on the MLS, and if not, just make sure to circle back around and ask that listing agent to make sure that they put it on MLS and Zillow, because obviously this is a big portion of your marketing and way to generate traffic to the listing, because other realtors are going to look on the MLS for open houses and consumers are going to look on Zillow for open houses. So you're going to want to make sure that this is done. Make sure that that open house form again is turned in no later than Wednesday before the open house. Now, if the property is a team listing, then our listing manager is going to make sure to post all the marketing themselves. If it's an outside listing, like I just mentioned, you want to ask that listing agent to post on MLS and Zillow. If it's our own listing, then our listing manager is going to do MLS and Zillow and Facebook, so you don't have to worry about that on any level. The listing manager is also going to prep your guest booklets and your sign-in sheets and any additional materials that you're going to need for your open house, and they're going to make sure to hand that to you by Friday before the event. So if your event is on Friday or on Saturday or Sunday, then the listing manager or operations department is going to make sure to get you all of your materials by Friday. Cool part is all you got to do is fill out this form and everything is on autopilot for you, from all of the marketing and preparation and marketing materials that you're going to be using the day of the event. Pretty straightforward and easy. Now, as far as the open house guest booklets go, I'm a firm believer. I've been to many open houses, I've done many open houses, and the impression that you leave on those clients when they're there, the value that you offer and bring to those clients are huge. Because remember, at an open house, it's not just an opportunity to attract buyers, but it's also an opportunity to attract sellers. You're going to get a lot of nosy neighbors or people that saw all your signs out, people that are in the neighborhood that are going to stop by and visit the house because they want to see what the neighbor's house looks like. They want to see what it's selling for. They're nosy and they just want more information. They want to know what's going on in the neighborhood. So we want to make sure that we're making the best impression to every single person that walks through that door, because guess what? Not only are those buyers that are going to come through there ultimately going to end up buying a home, but those neighbors, there's a good high likelihood that in the future they're going to ultimately end up listing their home. So we want to make sure we make a good impression, that we're very professional, we offer a lot of value, and one of the ways that we do that is through the guest booklets that we're giving out at open houses. I've been to open houses where you go in and the agent doesn't even talk to you. Maybe they hand you a black and white MLS sheet. Maybe they hand you nothing at all. We want to make sure that when we go in, we give them some collateral. collateral. We give them some material. We give them something to hold on. We give them something that's branded. Not only does that give them a lot of value, and we are offering a lot of value in our booklet, but also it's giving you the opportunity to show your professionalism and to show how we do things different. Because I can assure you that they're not walking into other open houses and getting the treatment and getting the materials and the marketing that they're getting at our open houses. So if it is a TNG listing, if it's a Nickley Group listing, what's going to be included in that guest booklet is a colored property, branded property flyer. It's going to be branded to the Nickley Group. It's going to have some cool pictures. It's going to be really professional. And again, it's just about the wow factor, and it's just something that they can hold and see that we know what we're doing and that we are professional. In addition to that, if there's a list of upgrades for the home, we're going to include that in the guest booklet. We're going to also include the MLS customer synopsis so they can see all the particulars about the home. We have a really, really cool document called 88 Types of Turbulence. And essentially what this is the 88 different things that buyers have to worry about over the course of a real estate transaction. Now, this isn't a scare tactic, but instead, this is a document that shows all of the different things that can possibly happen during the course of a real estate transaction. But most importantly, it shows them and it tells them that these are the things that we as their agent are going to do for them and make sure that they don't have to worry about. We take out all the guesswork. We take out all the stress. We're professionals. We do this all the time. We know what to look out for. We know how to navigate the process. And this document shows them all the things that a typical buyer would be concerned about, but more importantly, also gives them the peace of mind that these are things that us as the Nickley Group are going to make sure that they don't have to worry about, that we take those things on our shoulder and we proactively make sure that we've got all the bases covered so they don't have to deal with these things. Last but not least, we're going to give them a survey of the home. This guest survey is going to include questions about the house. It's going to ask them about the condition of the house, whether or not they think it's priced right. It's going to ask them, 4 or 5. I think it has 10 different questions on it. And they are typically just, they just have to check a box. So they don't even have to spend a lot of time writing. And then it asks for their name and phone number and email address. Again, this is a great tool just to give them something in their hands. Again, professionalism as they walk through the house. It's a checklist for them to be able to make notes on so they can remember exactly what happened, exactly what they liked or disliked about this house. At the end, we're going to take that guest survey from them, and we're going to use these guest surveys to give feedback to the listing agent on the home, who ultimately can pass that feedback on to the seller. And ultimately, last but not least, this document is going to capture their contact information. It is the second time that we're going to ask for their name, phone number, and email address, because the first time is at the sign-in sheet when they first come into the home, which is also going to be included in the packet of information or the packet of things that the listing manager is going to give you on Friday. We actually have a 3-step process of asking for contact information. The first is at the front door when they sign in. As you may or may not know, people aren't always going to be honest and be forthcoming with their information. Some people don't sign in. Some people aren't going to put their correct information. Some people are. The second way that we try to gather their information is through this guest survey. We've built some rapport at this point. We have offered some value at this point. So a lot more people are going to follow through and put their information on the survey. The last thing that we do is we offer to register them on our website, which I will talk about in a few moments, to set them up on a property search with properties that match their search criteria exactly. And I will explain how we go about getting their contact information there. If it's an outside listing, it's got many of the same materials, but it does not have the branded property flyer simply because it's not our listing, so we don't have access to the pictures and the information that we would on our own listing. So the only difference is if it's an outside listing, we do not include the branded property flyer. Now, prepping for the open house. You've got your packet, you've got your open house form that you've turned into the operations department. They're going to make sure they handle that part. So what do you need to do on your end to make sure that you're ready for the open house? The first thing is planning. The first thing is spending a few minutes ahead of time, getting a lay of the land, and coming up with the plan of action to place your signs to get the most traffic into the home. I want to say this loud and clear. Signs and more signs is the number one piece of marketing material that get people into open houses. We can do Facebook marketing. We can do call arounds. We can hand out flyers. We can put it on the MLS and Zillow. We could do everything we possibly can till we're blue in the face. But if you put out a lot of signs, if you place them properly and you direct people to the house, you are going to get a ton more traffic just from those open house signs than everything else combined. So it's something that you want to take seriously. I've seen so many agents that do an open house and they put one or two signs out, or they put one sign in front of the house, or they put, a few signs on the street, or they give, bad, they have bad signage that don't do a really good job at directing people to the home. We want to make sure that we place our signs at the highest level, and that starts with planning ahead of time. So go to Google Maps at least 48 hours prior to the event. Zoom in on that area and get a lay of the land. Look for your major roadways. Look for your major traffic stops. Look for your major intersections where most of the traffic is going to be flowing, and make sure you're directing traffic from the major intersections. Even if it's a quarter mile away, even if it's a half mile away. If you're in a subdivision that's a half a mile from the closest major roadway and you don't put any signs at that major roadway, you are making a big mistake and missing a ton of traffic. So come, make a plan of action. I would, if I were you, print the Google Maps and plot a map of where you're going to put those signs. You don't just want to go out the day of the open house and wing it. You will miss traffic. So get into Google Maps, zoom into that neighborhood, print the map, find your major roadways, your major intersections, and make sure that you're directing your traffic in correctly with tons of signs. And just make sure that you're getting with, sales manager on the team, myself, somebody else, and come up with the plan of action. Once you do it once or twice, you'll get a hang of it. Just make sure that you get some help with this the first time. Now, as far as signs go, you want to place a minimum of 25 signs. And I said that a minimum of 20 signs. Again, I will say the more signs that you place, the more people that are going to show up at the open house. If you're going to take 3 hours out of your day, 4 hours all in on a Saturday, you might as well maximize the traffic and the number of people that are showing up at the house. So make sure that you are putting tons and tons and tons of signs to drive people in, okay? Now, we have directional signs that are arrow signs that you can use for a right or left turn, and then we have straight arrow signs, and then we have signs with no arrows at all. Make sure that with the right and left arrow signs, you're only using those on corners to direct traffic. I've seen people that try to use those right and left turn signs on straightaways, and you just confuse the hell out of people. So make sure that you're using those directional right and left signs only at corners, and then on your straightaways, make sure that you're alternating your straight arrow signs and your no arrow signs. So straight arrow signs and no arrow signs leading up to intersections and turns, and then make sure that you're using those directional signs on the turns, okay? Now, additional ideas for marketing open houses. Now, what we've talked about already is the bare minimum. If you really want to step up your game, if you really want to increase your odds of the number of people that come to the home, you're going to want to make sure that you are taking extra steps to get more people there. So instead of the 25 open house signs, up your game to 35, 45, 50 plus open house signs. Again, the more signs, the more people. If you want to step that up an additional notch, add balloons to the signs. Order them from the front desk, have operations order them from the front desk and put balloons. The more of a spectacle you make, the more of attention you draw from people, the more people you're going to get at your house. Another cool thing is we've got over 14,000 people in our Commissions Inc. database. You can go into Commissions Inc. You can create a targeted audience in Commissions Inc. For people that are looking in that zip code, in that area, in that price point. Again, you want to focus on people in Commissions Inc. that are only looking in that area, that are only looking at that price range, and that are looking at that style of property. With these people, you can easily create that audience and send an email invite and invite people to this open house on the weekend. Again, if you can create a list of 1,000 people or 500 people or 300 people or 200 people and send them an email with an invite to this open house, then you're going to increase your odds of getting people there. And you can send this open house invite and create this audience in less than 5 minutes. If you want to do this on your open house, get with myself or another member on the team, and we will help you create that audience. It's a really easy step to get some additional people to the open house. Again, another thing that you'll definitely want to do is make sure to post this open house on all of your social media pages and invite people that way. Another cool thing that you can do, and this is something that you can do to generate future listing business. The morning of the open house or the day before the open house, have the operations department create 50 to 100 open house flyers, walk around the neighborhood, knock on the door, and invite those neighbors to the open house. Again, this is a great way to get to know neighbors, and this is not a technique to look for buyers. This is a technique to look for future listing business within that neighborhood. Think about it. If you're in that neighborhood and you put up 25, 50 signs and you've got balloons and you've got tons of traffic and you've got all kinds of signage leaving into the neighborhood, and then you show up at their door, the day before the open house and introduce yourself and invite them over. We'll obviously go over the scripting for that with you prior to it. Again, you're showing these people how much of a professional you are. You're showing them how much you work, and I promise you, you are doing all of the things that the other agents that are holding open houses in that neighborhood are not doing. Who do you think that these neighbors and these people are going to think about when it comes to listing their home? It's going to be you. Another option of things that you can do is create a Mojo call around list. We have a really cool feature in Mojo where you can type in an address, you can create a perimeter around that house, and create a call list of people to call. So create a call list of 200 to 300 neighbors, create a voicemail that you can drop in case they don't answer. Call through that list 24 to 48 hours prior to the event. Drop that voicemail. It will automatically do it in Mojo if they don't answer. And if they do answer, invite them to the open house. We'll go through the script with you. We'll give you a script. It's really, really simple. It's really easy. But again, this is taking it a step further, showing the neighbors that you work, showing the neighbors that you go above and beyond, and showing the neighbors that you do all of the things that the other agents don't do. So that way, when they're thinking about listing their home, they're going to be thinking about you. Again, all of these additional marketing ideas are going to create great opportunities for listings because, again, these neighbors are going to notice the hard work and they're going to think of you when it comes time to sell. Now, it's the day of the event. You've done all your marketing, you've put out all your, you've handed out your flyers, you've called around the neighborhood. Now, the checklist of things that you want to make sure and pointers to do the day of the event. I would always recommend to make sure that you have those signs out completely at least an hour before the event. If you have them out at least an hour before an event, that's an additional hour of marketing. The last thing you want to do is place these signs 15 minutes before the event, come skirting into the front door, putting out your last sign just as the open house starts. You're disheveled, you're a mess, you're sweaty, and then your people start coming into the open house. So make sure that those signs are up completely an hour before. I'd rather have a line of people at the door when the open house starts than me just sliding in the door when the open house starts. I always suggest, especially during the summer months, to bring a change of clothes. When you're out putting those signs out, you can get dirty and sweaty. I would make sure to wear clothes to change out of and change into your open house attire prior to the event. You're going to want to open up all the blinds and the shades, let in as much natural light as you possibly can, turn on all the lights in the home, unlock all the doors, and make sure that the home is completely show ready. With all the windows open, with all the lights on, it is going to be bright and light and ready to show. Make sure that you're going to place your sign-in sheet and your guest booklets right near the entrance of the home. You're going to want to make sure that you can greet the guests as they arrive, and make sure that you hand them an information packet. Many times when the open house gets busy, if this material is not at the front door and you're not greeting them at the front door, you're going to miss those clients altogether, because they're going to slide in, they're going to blend in with the crowd, and you're going to miss the opportunity to meet and greet them all together. And it's really hard to get somebody to go back and sign in and get an information packet once they're already 3 bedrooms into the house looking around. So put those right at the front. You're going to want to meet and greet people with a smile and a positive attitude. Focus on building rapport and making genuine connections. Now, at the open house, remember, these people have gone to multiple open houses this same day. They've talked to many other agents that are trying to get their business. But where we want to be different is we just want to offer tons of value. You're there to help. In ways that you can offer value. Guys, Commissions Inc., View Orlando Houses is hands down one of the top real estate technologies in the industry. There are capabilities and functions on Commissions Inc. that we as realtors don't even have ourselves. Do you not think that that's tons of value to consumers? We've got buyers and seller guides that you can bring to give out at the event, your market knowledge, your neighborhood knowledge. These are all value without you trying to sell them. The last thing you want to do is for these people that come into open house that feel like you're just there to convert them into business. But if you offer value, if you're positive, if you're professional, if you offer tools and resources, then they're going to naturally gravitate towards you and want to work with you. One of the best things that you can possibly do to convert business at an open house is to offer to set up the people that come into the open house on View Orlando Houses on your website. Offer to set them up on a search with properties that meet their criteria exactly. Guys, I will tell you, this is gold if you deliver it quickly, or if you deliver it correctly. And by delivering it correctly, it's understanding that these consumers do not know how this real estate technology works. They go to realtor.com, they go to Zillow, they go to tons of different websites. But believe you me, 99% of them do not know that you have a real estate technology where you can go in and you can create a search for exact criteria, for exact neighborhoods, for exact properties, for exact price range to meet their exact criteria. That's why they go to so many different avenues. That's why they go into open houses without knowing what the properties are all about. That's why they go to Zillow and Realtor.com and Truly, because they don't know that there's a one-stop shop where you can show them everything. So if you're able to convey that if you find out more about exactly what they're looking for, that you could set them up with a search that's not going to only show them exactly what's available now, but that website's going to be updated every 5 minutes with every single property that meets their criteria. Guys, this is gold. For those clients to be able to walk away with a search that's set up that shows them the exact 50 properties that fall in the exact school range with a pool, with the same number of bedrooms in the price point that they're looking for, and that's going to be updated every 5 minutes, with pending properties coming off the website and newest properties coming on the website. That is gold. That is the number one thing that consumers want, and it's the number one thing that you can do to convert business. Because here's the cool part. If you're able to convey that and get them excited to set them up on the website, you've converted a lead right then and there. Because when you're setting them up on the website and putting them in manually, you're using their name, their email address, and their correct phone number as their password. So not only do you get them as a lead, but you get their accurate contact information to make sure that you're capturing that lead at the highest level. Now, once the event is over, make sure to lock up every door in the house, turn off all the lights, close all the blinds and shades, and most importantly, leave that house exactly the way that you found it. All right, so now your open house is done. You've had tons of opportunities come through. You've cleaned up the house. Now what? Now it's time to convert those leads. Guys, the biggest ball that's dropped in open houses, and the thing that literally is cringeworthy to me, is I've talked to so many agents and had so many conversations about agents saying, open houses don't work, open houses don't work, open houses don't work. I've done so many open houses and I just can't get any business. And my first question that I ask is, well, what's your follow-up process for leads that come into the open house? And the answers that I get are just mind-blowing. I get either that I don't have a follow-up process, or I call them once, or I send them a text, or some version of that mess. And guys, here's the deal. Just because those people come through the open house, and just because they see you and meet you belly to belly, doesn't mean that you've earned their business. You earn their business through consistent follow-up and qualifying or disqualifying, because realize that not every person that comes through an open house is a qualified lead. All of that's going to be established in the follow-up process. Think about it. Everything that goes into the preparation and the marketing for the open houses and working the open houses, that's just lead generation. But you have to convert those leads to turn it into business. What happens after the open house's lead conversion? Okay, so you're going to want to make sure that all of your open house leads that are generated from your open house must be put into your Commissions Inc. database manually within 24 hours of the event. Once you put those leads into, or as you're putting those leads into Commissions Inc., you're going to want to label them with the open house label until they're contacted. The reason you want to label them with the open house label is to make sure that you know that this is somebody that you generated from an open house. And then once they're contacted, you're obviously going to label them based on where they are in the buying process, either hot, warm, or nurture. But once you put them into the system, make sure that you put that open house label on them, so that way you can sort them in the future, and on Monday or the following week when you're going to be following your doing your follow-up process, that you're going to be able to sort and pull all those leads based on their label. All right. Now, once the lead is qualified, you're going to label them accordingly. You're going to label them as hot, warm, or nurture in your Commissions Inc. database. And based on the conversation, you're going to determine if that lead's going to stay in your personal database or send them to the pool. And again, once you follow that you're going to follow our same 21-day follow-up process. Once you go through that 21-day process in its entirety, if you have not reached the lead, you're going to do just as you always do, and you're going to label them as no contact, and you're going to send them to the lead pool to be followed up with and nurtured in the future. One last thing that I want to mention that is huge, and it's something that is a big area of opportunity. I know that many times these people that come into open houses, they'll tell you, I already have an agent. I have an agent. I'm working with somebody. And I'm going to tell you that 75% of the time, that is a crock of shit, and 95% of the time, no matter if they're saying they have an agent or not, that still can be converted into business. And the reason I say that is, first of all, saying I have an agent, that's just a defense mechanism. That's the same as you walking into a store to buy shoes, and you're greeted at the door by somebody that's at the makeup counter, and they say, hey, how can I help you? You looking for something in particular? And you go, no, I'm just looking. You're in there looking for shoes, but you're not going to tell them that. You say, I'm just looking. That's the same thing as somebody coming into an open house and saying, I have an agent. It's just a defense mechanism. It's a way for them to feel like you won't sell them or pressure them or anything of that sort. That's the first scenario. The second scenario is, if these people have an agent that's really good and that is doing good by them and is serving them at the highest level, don't you think that that agent would be at that open house with them? Don't you think that they wouldn't be going around to open houses on the weekend by themselves if they were fully committed to that agent? So don't be thrown off by that. You don't have to dig any deeper. You can let them know, okay, great. I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I hope your agent's doing really well by you. But we do have some really awesome resources that I'd be happy to share with you that you can use. I have this really cool website. And then you're going to find through that 21-day follow-up process and through that conversion process that many of these people that told you they had an agent at the open house in actuality do not have an agent at the open house. So there it is. There is our open house training in a nutshell. Guys, again, open houses could be a huge pillar of your business. You could easily add 10, 15, 20 deals a year to your open houses. But remember, you got to do them consistently. You got to do them at a high level. You got to market them correctly. You got to offer a ton of value. And most importantly, you got to make sure to convert those leads when all is said and done. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side.